This episode of United 96 is brought to you in part by Mundy Development. Whether you're beginning your first real estate purchase or you're a seasoned investor, Mundy Development can assist you with all aspects of the process. Kick off your next investment by visiting mundydev.com. You are now listening to United 96 Podcast on the RFK Refugees Podcast Network.
Here on the RFK Refugees Podcast Network. Ted here. John
Das
here.
off over here.
Das off over here. Das off over here. We are here to cover DC United. We covered a little U.S. men's national team as well, though we didn't really talk about like Nations League at all. Nope. We just had like no interest in Nations League.
It's a fake tournament. I refuse.
But we are here to talk DC United in whatever form it takes. Whatever form it takes this week, it's another tough loss. Before we get into that, John, how are you doing, my friend? How was your weekend?
It was good. People have started to talk about this. The 7:30 start for every game in MLS is making it so that I am watching so much less MLS than I used to. Basically, I watch my team, which every game I think bar one has been on the 7:30 time block. I guess there was 8:30 for Chicago, but it's kind of a bummer. Like I don't know what's going on in the rest of the league. I watch the review show sometimes, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. What do you? My weekend was fine, but I want to know what you think about it. I don't know. I want to know what you think about that.
The most interesting part of my day was Thursday when I made the ultimately very bright attempt to stay up till 1 a.m. on a Thursday watching the Richmond Kickers play Cleveland SC. Work was a little rough on Friday. That's all I'll say to that. I didn't have a lot of meetings, so I was kind of able to just maybe work on some smaller things and relax and try not to have too much of a thing. But Friday was rough, but it was by far one of the weirdest experiences I guess I've had at a game. It was very weird. I'm sure the players really wanted to just be done with it. They had the weekend off. And then really Saturday and Sunday was, I didn't have the Easter holiday. There was no games to referee. I had kind of a weekend just to relax and not really do anything. Recover. Exactly. So that was nice. And also watch, DC and MLS and to your question about the Apple TV deal. I think that is the one criticism I will agree with. I think what MLS said is they said, okay, everybody talks about how we don't have consistent times. Games are all over the place. We got this new platform in Apple. We have this new show we're trying to do in Access 360. We need to make sure games are there. We have a whole bunch of games that people can watch. The problem is like, I think like you have said is that, you sit and watch the DC United game. And then by then it's like, maybe you'll get like the second half of a game that starts at 8:30 and then you've got 10:30 games and that's it. Like it's all done and dusted. I think the league, my sincere hope, the league, maybe adopts a little bit of a, you can create consistent watch times, do a Friday night game. I think there should be a Friday night game every week.
Yep.
You can pick and then there should be a Saturday day game, sneak a day game in there. And then you still have a slate of 10, 11 games at that 7:30, 8:30 time slot. Maybe you can divvy it up a little bit. So you've got a little, wider gulf of games. And then of course, then you have I think you have a Sunday afternoon game. We'll get that this week. We will get the LA Derby at 4:30 on Sunday. So we will get that this week. But I think that is something I wouldn't be shocked if they just went along with the same thing this time around, or they actually said, okay, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's create a Friday night soccer. The only thing I think could stop Friday night could be the fact that Apple also has Friday night baseball, and I'm not sure they would want that to compete with.
Yeah, I guess I guess there could be a split. I guess they could be eyeballs are pulling away from each other. So, but other than that,
they might have data and they might say, you know what, there's really no crossover between baseball fans and there's this one guy in Fredericksburg, Virginia that watches both the Friday night baseball and the MLS.
That's right.
That's all we got. So I think we're fine. We can lose him we can have him split for a week, but they've also got the 4 screens, apparently the split screens they're coming with. So hopefully that adds a little bit to it, but
So before we get on the rest of the show, I want to make sure that I called out some folks who became new Patreons or upgraded their Patreon tiers this week. Kevin, Matthew and Benjamin, thank you for becoming Patreons. Those folks are reacting most likely to the new hit show that doesn't have a name and doesn't have really any sort of branding around it, which is the John Solo talk about things that happened from Monday to Friday before the game podcast. I'm going to think of something pithier than that. But what I'm going to do every week is put something together on Thursday night, usually, probably, and splice some content from press conferences, so that you know what's going to go on with the DC United game and the Spirit game that weekend. So the only way you'll get that is if you are in the $5 tier or higher. Well, really just the $5 tier on Patreon, and yeah, do that if you want that. It could be good. People seem to like it. I don't know. I wouldn't pay for it, but it's just me talking. So I appreciate anyone else that does do it. But that's it. I wanted to make sure we got that
Great,
before we get into the show. Good ad, right?
great, yeah, great advertising there, John. You say no, it's the best content in the
Ted,
world.
I
Like
have been on record saying that I refuse to listen to sports podcasts. So I'm clearly not our market. I'm not our own demo. Hey Jesse in the chat. Gregory says I can listen to myself talk for free. I can, but I can't edit myself when I'm listening live, unfortunately. So that's why I have to do this.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into DC United now. Winless in 6. It's been a rough go of it. DC United falling 2-0 to the Columbus, to say the least. A rough go of it, falling 2-0 to Columbus. John, before we get into, we're going to talk about referees. We're going to talk about a lot of other things. Give me some of your overall feelings about the game. I feel like we ask this every week. Are we still positive? Do we still think there's something that can happen? Like, how much does this really mean? Because I look at the standings and I was feeling very down at this game, and I was like, if this keeps up, I think Wayne's gone. Like, do you look at maybe just getting rid of Wayne mid-season, having the guy they hired, the assistant coach, I can't think of who they brought in.
Former Vancouver coach
Carl
Carl
Robinson. There it is. Yeah, Carl Robinson. Just shepherd him through the year and then go and find a coach. Like, if this really goes bad. And then I took a look at the standings and I'm like, 1 win and we are right back in the playoff hunt. Like, I forget, and this is probably like an indignation of the regular season and how many playoff positions there are.
Too many.
These games just really, like, it's just like you can very easily go on a run of like 2 or 3 wins and suddenly you're right back in fighting in the middle of the pack or the top of the playoffs, all the way from the bottom. And there's the fact that there are a lot of other teams out there that are way, way worse than us. We could finish, I think we could finish maybe like only slightly better on points and be nowhere close. There are a lot of teams out there, LA, Kansas City, Montreal, who are about to play next, Charlotte, who are just an absolute. I think Charlotte might be okay. They've just turned around from being embarrassingly bad to bad. But there are just a lot of teams that are just like even more embarrassingly bad than us. So maybe that's given me a little bit of hope that we are on top of the trash heap instead of buried under the trash heap. So curious if you have the same thoughts.
Yeah, I was not feeling as good about. I feel like the common thread this season has been us losing and me being like, and you being like, yeah, but there are lots of good things to take away from this. We had stretches where we looked amazing, and yeah, we had some small moments that let us down. And we'll talk about the refereeing decisions that really came into play on these goals. I wasn't seeing a whole lot to like. The offensive style continues to be very direct. It continues to be very, Christian Benteke forehead oriented, which is fine because it's working and he's good. I mean, it's not working because we've won 1 game, but his part is working fine. He's doing what he's been asked to do. I continue to be impressed with him. He's been the most as advertised DP in not so, I think Taxi had a season last year for the most part that you're like, wow, that was probably the best DP season of, other than like Dwayne De Rosario, a converted DP, any acquired external DP that we've ever had. Christian Benteke has been exactly what they said he would be. So that's cool. But yeah, I was not really overwhelmed with the performance from any capacity. There were individual performances that we'll talk about as we go with the game that I was really, really pleased with. And I think, Donovan Pines aside and Jihaz for Jacob, you're probably close to what your first choice 11 that Wayne would draw together out there. Also, maybe not Victor Paulson at right back, but for the most part, injuries aside from defensively, like that is the front, the midfield and the forwards are about what you'd want. And is it a matter of just needing more time to gel? Maybe so. The new players that came were pretty impressive. First time we've had all three DPs in the field. First time we've ever had all three DPs in a game ever, I believe, because it's the first year we've had three DPs.
Yeah, and actually, funny enough, I'm looking, and the we do actually have a connection that was better. I'm looking at the passing connection. That was a big talking point against Chicago. Miller to Benteke is still number 2. There were 10 attempts there. But there actually was a leader which was 15 between Steve Birnbaum and Victor Paulson. Still very much, there's like 6 and 9 between the two of them. Very much, very direct. Let's talk about the defensive line again. Another shift in the defensive line. We had,
by the way, we've never had consecutive same back fours all season long. If there's one information point that could get to you to be like, oh, I get why we suck right now, that's probably a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one.
And also, to be clear, like, we're still very much like, other than I would say the front two between Taxi and Benteke, the midfield is also very much a work in progress, and there doesn't seem to be a clear idea of how are we going to play as a midfield? How are we going to look as a midfield? This game felt very, very much like a 4-4-2. This game did not have the feeling of like a 4-4-3 that maybe was a bit more attacking. I understand what Rooney is trying to do. He is trying to play more defensively, and honestly, if it weren't for an errant penalty, call, which we'll get to, you might have said, well, it worked. You got through the first half, and then maybe you can go a little bit more on the front foot. Maybe you get something out of it. I think if this team is going to play out of the back, they have to figure out how to get a midfield connection. Something else other than, I mean, you can try the stuff over to Benteke, the long ball, long passes over the top to Benteke, have him head it down, find Taxi. That can work. But you also need to get the midfield more involved. And I think Lewis O'Brien was very good. We'll talk about him in a minute. Canals was very good. Obviously, an unfortunate penalty call that he had there. Click was okay. I did not like Pedro Santos. I didn't think he had a good game.
Better than the last time against Columbus, which was a horror show. He was merely average or below, versus the first time away he was abject.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously this team on the defensive side of the ball needs to get healthy. I think Williams is projected mid-April. We might be finally getting Andy Nahar back. I think that's going to improve things. Obviously, Giazzi getting back. Hopefully he slots in next week against Montreal, is in the starting role. So I think there are some things where I'm hopeful that there is a thought process behind, let's use the game against Montreal, who's bad, and we're going to work this week on actually developing and trying out, or hopefully they've been training it for a while, but actually working on, okay, let's be solid defensively, but let's also get a little more on the front foot. Because the past 2 games, they were just like, nope, we're just going to bunker. We're going to hold on for dear life and try to keep it 0-0 as close as we can, and then try to hit on the break. And that's the way you're going to play. It really didn't work at all in the first half.
And it's gotten them 1 point out of 6. So therefore, that's not a great return on investment.
I mean, would you prefer? I mean, we talked about this team limiting chances, trying to find a way to be defensive. To their credit, I mean, they've given up now 1 open goal.
Yep.
1 goal from open play in 2 games. So it's an improvement. I mean, the penalty is the penalty, and that still counts as your goals against, but that's little bit of a different scenario. So they've looked improved defensively. I think particularly, I know some fans don't like to hear this, but Steve Birnbaum's actually been very good.
Yep.
I would say he's probably been one of our standout players defensively, not really getting a lot of attention. Donovan Pines also, past couple games, has been incredibly solid. He's had those moments. Now, can he hold on to it? Is it going to take one more? One more. What are your thoughts? Like,
yeah, go ahead. No, you were saying like, what's the value in that? Do I think that was a good? I think that's a good philosophy, particularly while you have a makeshift defense in front of you. So you're basically saying, I don't trust our back four to defend, so we're going to defend as a team.
Mhm.
and try to get draws. Just try to survive in the meantime, so that when we have our defenders that we like in there, that we can maybe be able. Maybe I mean, if that's the thought process, then that makes sense. I don't know that it's so binary. I don't know that like they're thinking like, all right, guys, we're not even really going to try to score. We're just going to defend, and if we happen to score on a break, cool, or a corner, that'd be great. I don't we're not in the team talks, but I bet you that's not. I bet you they're still like, we're going to go out and take it to them. We're gonna dominate the midfield. We're gonna get the ball. We're gonna create some high value chances that we're gonna convert. Probably what they're being said, and that's just not the play on the field. I think you look at the bench. Look at the unused sub. So you've got this time only one goalkeeper, so that's an advantage. Yamil Assad, who I think conclusively we can say is not it, man.
Yeah.
Jackson Hopkins, while his shots per 90 continues to lead the team, not end product, not here yet. Christian Fletcher finally back from international duty. We'll see. Hayden Sargis, he of the 1 minute of MLS play, and Mattia Camboni coming back from concussion. There's not, Ted Pietro came on. There is not another game changer on that bench, really. There's not another person that's going to move the ball, take on players in the dribble, advance the ball from the midfield through the line to get to the final third. Like that player's not there. So I think this is probably just a matter of making do with what you have, and hope that when we sign these three players that we're rumored to, which we'll talk about in a minute, that that depth becomes a little bit more dangerous versus just like, all right, well, we got three children and a guy that it was a body, and I'm sorry, four children, yeah, and a goalie. That's what our situation is right now.
Let's talk about Lewis O'Brien. Let's talk about he talk about new signings. He's a guy who came in, um, played very, very well stats wise. I don't know, like the team as a whole, I think is still very much a work in progress offensively. So I don't know if we saw really like the best we could out of him. But I thought he still had some very, very clean moments. I think he's still trying to figure out kind of where he fits in this team, what the best role for him is, on this team. What were your impressions of him sort of in the
I
game?
loved him. I think
Mhm.
from a technical standpoint, he's the most complete player, and that he can. It was said he's an old school box to box midfielder. That was on display. He wins the ball. He's heavy in the tackle. He can dribble past players. He's going to shoot. He has the mind to move off the ball. He's got all the stuff. He has all the
Mhm.
stuff in the bag. And we talked about this before the show started. Yeah, he should. He's a young Premier League player. Yeah, he's valued at $10 million. Yeah, so it's to me it's amazing the difference between an MLS level quality midfielder and a Premier League one. It's exactly what you think it is to me. I think he come not having had any game time since January and coming out here in 90 minutes and not getting tired. In fact, I think coming into the game later in the second half, was sort of spearheading the attack, was taking a lot of shots on goal, was trying to dribble past
Mhm.
players. Uh, you know, he is for sure gone when this loan ends, but we should figure out a way to take advantage of him to maximize the points while he's here, because whoever replaces him will be a drop off in my mind.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, honestly, I mean, who be curious to see who that player. I mean, it's probably honestly Chris Durkin, who unfortunately looks like I think he is the
He's the
loser when it
casualty.
comes to he's the casualty here. He actually was not on the bench for this game. I don't know if he. Oh no, no, he wasn't on the bench.
No,
Wow, I completely missed that. Not sure what that's about. As far as I don't think we heard about any injury from him. I think he actually might have been maybe he was questionable. I have to go back and look at the injury report. Um, Obviously, I think we talked about how good Russell Knaus was. Christian Benteke, I will say, towards the end of that game was getting very frustrated. There was some frustration. I think he went in kind of on a hard tackle. Hopefully, that's just like frustration at the game state, not frustrated with the way things are going, because he certainly is out there. He and Taxi, I think we all kind of thought when Taxi came back that they were going to click. Taxi looked good coming off the bench in that first appearance. His past two starts have not been, I guess, what we saw last season. So I'm hopeful that's just kind of needs a little bit more game time. Needs to get off the bench. I think this team as a whole, I'm hopeful for this Montreal game. because the reverse is true for Montreal. They're looking at this, say, "Oh man, here's a team that's struggling. Here's our chance to at home to really get something." My hope is, though, from a DC perspective, that they need one game maybe where just everything clicks and they score a couple goals and they win a game, and then suddenly then it kind of gives you some momentum. It gives you some confidence that can kind of sort of propel you into the next series of games. So they do have it coming out. I think they got a road game. I think they got away at Montreal, then road to Orlando, which is going to be tough. And then obviously home against Charlotte, I believe is how the is how the next week goes. So maybe is it home Charlotte next? Might be home Charlotte next. I'm trying to remember. No. It's not. All right. Fun. Any remaining thoughts on the players, and let's get to the referee decisions. Let's get to that fun.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that Jay Oz is back and probably will start next game. And
Yeah,
Victor Paulson was shockingly okay as a right back, I think.
He was fine. I mean, what he was being asked to do, he wasn't asked to commit to the attack.
Right, much better than he was a center back. I think that's clear. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I think very much so. I was curious if the team would kind of morph into like a 3-5-2 or something. Like maybe they would push Green a little higher. They definitely didn't do that. They kept Green very much rooted to the left side. So obviously we'll see when Giazzi gets here. Obviously Ruan maybe starts in this game. You get a little more of attacking. Maybe we'll see Andy come. Maybe we'll see Andy get some minutes. Let's get to the referee decisions. Obviously DC very, very hard done on the first goal. So the craziest thing about this is that I believe the incident happened and then DC went on a counterattack and actually was mildly successful, had kind of caught Columbus out guard, and Taxi just couldn't force enough of his shot on the goal to actually score a goal and take the lead, which would have been I'm almost glad. I am almost glad that ball did not go in the back of the net, because I could not imagine what that would have done for the rest of the game if they had scored that and then have it taken away and then a penalty called and then they're down 1-0 after being up 1-0. Like the amount of just wind that would have taken out of the sails. So I'm almost glad that ball was a weak shot that did not go into the back of the net. What do you feel the same way? I think that would have been that I think that could have made this game would have been like 3-4-0 Columbus if that had happened. I think it would have killed this team that much.
I maybe, I don't know. that's a hard negative to prove. But yeah. Taxi had I think there were 2 opportunities where if he just had put a little bit more either lift or muscle on the shot, he would have been able to score. I think, yeah, he's had a long period of either injury or not playing. So I'm hoping that it's just a matter of rust knocking off and he can start really getting the confidence. I think he just probably needs one, right? I think that's kind of like a confidence player. I think he just needs one.
Yeah, any striker, it's a confidence player. Just get one goal. But obviously, then let's get back to the referee decision. John, I know you have several thoughts on this. I have my thoughts. I think my thoughts come from maybe a different place than yours. But you go first on this.
No, I think just the fact that to the naked eye, that's not a penalty. I think it's just not something you'd call. I think it's hard to elicit a VAR call. There wasn't even a very strong appeal on Columbus's part for needing to look at it. When you watch it in slow motion, this is what everybody says, like, there is the slightest contact on the foot. So by the book, it is a penalty. But the problem is that, like, we shouldn't have been in this position. It is the decision to go to, it was all in the decision to go, right? Once it was said, like, I'm going to go take a look. Once the VAR official said, you need to check this out, whoever the signifying official was, once that happened, it was a fait accompli, because he's not going to look at that and be like, I did see that, but I'm not going to call that. So it's a complaint about sort of, I guess, VAR in general, right? Like what you're choosing to look at versus what you're trusting yourself to see when you see it. So what I would say about it is it was extremely unlucky. It was like the hardest luck thing to happen to a player who had been playing great up to that point and played very well after that fact. But it was just sort of, it felt like it's been brewing, and we'll talk about it. We could probably talk about it even in this context right now. The interview that Pablo did with Wayne about sort of officiating, how he feels like he talks about what's going on, and he feels like it's sort of being like they're taking it out on him, which is hard to prove, but it's right now the decisions are stacking up on one side of the ledger over and over and over again. It's getting very challenging to see it otherwise, but it
Yeah,
sucks.
you have to hope that that there's an evening out here, that the powers that be, that DC gets a call. I mean, the comparison obviously is to the taxi foul against Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
which I still look at that and I can see the argument, but it's like, if we're gonna see the argument there, and then we're not gonna see the argument here, like there's clear contact there. I just don't. I don't know. That for me. I mean, they talk about like VR, like not re-refereeing the game, and it's just been the biggest absolute lie. I think where we're headed, and this might sound crazy today, I think where we are headed is we are headed to a moment, because VAR is just going to spot these things and call these penalties that are in all actionality, like on a live, like no, like very few referees are going to call these live.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are headed towards a scenario where a foul in the box is not automatically a PK. I think it's going to be direct free kick inside the box, something to that effect, or it gets pulled out, just outside the 18, perpendicular, if to give the taker more space. Unless it's Dogzo, unless there is a denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity, then you will see PKs, because I think one of the most interesting analysis was, I think the Athletic did an article, and they talked about like the shift in XG that penalties give from the moment it happens. What is the XG of that opportunity? And in like almost every single opportunity, it's like a 75 to 80% increase in the XG, to where it's almost like goes from no chance at a goal to a guaranteed goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're at some point, with the way VAR has kind of changed things, and how me as a referee, when I'm out there refereeing games, I want to be, darn sure that the contact is real before I point to the spot and give a PK. Like, I want to make sure in my mind that it is 100% clear that it's a PK. Otherwise, I'm not going to call it, because I can know the impact that can have on a game. So now we have VAR where we can see these sort of slight touches. I think we are.
If you or your company would like to advertise on United 96, please email producer Brian at rfkrefugees.com. I can promise you only the most electric live reads you've ever heard. And for a small nominal fee, I promise I won't make any references to Zoltan Stieber in the copy. Back to the show.
I think we are potentially looking at. IFAB does some crazy things. We'll see if it's ever trialed or not, but I think that's where we're headed at this point.
I've got the fix, Ted. I figured it out.
Go ahead.
Chat, let me know if you think this is a good idea. All right. You've got Hawkeye for goals. That will still persist. The buzzer will go off on the wrist of the referee if the ball crosses the line. That's fine. There is no VAR, except for each team gets one red challenge flag that they can initiate a VAR on. If they are correct, they get it back, but they only get to throw it twice in the game. Also, VAR will only take a maximum of 60 seconds from when the referee goes to the panel, maybe even do 30 seconds, I don't know, puts the headset on. If you can't make a decision in the amount of time it takes to look at it 4 or 5 times in slow-mo, clearly it's not worth calling or changing your call on. That's my fix.
Honestly, give them challenge flags, and then they lose a substitute.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do it.
They get 2 challenges, and they lose a substitute. So you're right back down to 3 subs. You're already giving them more subs. So if they feel that it is egregious enough where they want to throw that flag. And none of this, I know there's like in NFL, like I think there are like there's basically like, what are the coordinators are the ones watching film. They all watch the replay and film. Like, okay, I think you can challenge this. I think you've got a chance to say none of that. It has to be like a coach thinks it is so egregious that it is worth challenging.
From the bench only.
From the bench. And I think you do need, I feel like if you did that, you would need something like, you would need almost like an NFL rule where in stoppage time, like you can't just, you have your one challenge, your team's getting overrun, you can't throw the challenge flag. Like, I think that would be fair. I think that would be a fair way to do it. So we'll see. I think there's some changes. I think VAR, the can of worms, as they called it for VAR, is opening.
I think
So
we should embrace too by the fact that we are American and that we're not going to play it necessarily exactly like the rest of the world in the way we do things.
mhm.
I think, but we don't talk about it very much in this show, but like I think the changes that have been made in baseball this year and over the last couple of years are, you know, it's it's saying I'm not going to be a stick in the mud here. Things aren't working perfectly. Let's fix them. Let's give it a shot. If it doesn't work, we can go back. I think that just no one can be really happy with the way things are from a VA perspective. I don't think the refs are even really happy with it. I know that I know coaches across the league are not very happy with it right now. So let's give it a fix. I think the red flags would add a little bit of suspense and intrigue for people
Yeah.
watching, and that Apple would like that.
Yeah, and I don't think you would have a red flags. I think what you would have is you would
Tell the
have
fourth
probably you have
official.
a fourth. You have to tell the fourth official. You'd be like, next stoppage. I want to challenge that call, please. Like
But it would look
doing
cool
that.
if there's a visual indicator of such a thing, like some sort of I don't know how you do it. Like you start waving a flag. You raise your own
Yeah,
flag. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're
we'll see what
workshopping it.
happens. Let's talk next week's game. DC United will play on the road to Montreal. I think we've covered enough for Columbus, right? Like
Yeah,
we talked
I don't
referees. I don't
want
think we
it.
have anything else.
Yeah. No more, please.
I don't. Let's go. Hopefully some happier vibes. DC set up. This is I don't know if we call this a trap game because both teams are pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
Montreal is currently coming off 2 straight games of losing a combined 9-0. Things are not going well in Hernan Losada's Montreal. They are lost 4-0 to New England. Just got absolutely run over by them. I think it is a case. I was hoping people were saying like, oh, I think this means that Hernan Losada should be like, go. And I'm like, don't do it next. Don't do it. Wait till after next Saturday. I don't care. Like they play them farther down the season. If he's gone by then, so be it. But
I don't know,
give us
man.
this 1 week.
All I gotta say is R.I.P. Montreal players in training this week because Hernan's going to turn the intensity meter up to 35 out of 10. So if there's ever a game he wanted to win, it's this one. So
Yeah.
we'll see. It's entirely possible they come out with their hair on fire.
We'll see. We'll see if the players like. I mean, I don't know if the players will want to. Like, I mean, at a certain point, it seems like that. I mean, you lose 5-0 and 4-0 at a certain point. And again, this is what I talked about. I think it was, we talk about like what happened. Why was Hernan coming in so successful early on? It's very easy to come into a team that's directionless. This team had a coach they were successful under in Wilfred Nancy. And then you have another guy come in who maybe is trying to put his staple on and try to change things. I was very curious how he was going to come in. I thought if he came in maybe with a little bit of a softer touch, being like, look, I'm not going to make any real wholesale changes here. Like the team's set up. You guys were successful. I'm not really going to mess. Maybe I'll tinker with a couple things there. But it sounds like he came in and said, no, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I can be the manager. We'll see what happens in this game, man. He can turn the intensity up as much as he wants, but it's about the players he's got. And right now, I don't know if he really has that. So,
I would just like a big this stat is indicative of how bad DC United has been in the last couple of years. So Montreal Impact now CF Montreal FC DC whatever the name is now. 10 Montreal wins, 8 DC wins, 8 draws. So that's just like the time they're just in the window. They're in the 2008 to 2023 window or whatever it was. Just like it's DC stinky time. But just some overall season stats. DC United average. No, this can't be average stats. Is that 12.4 shots? Is that total? That can't be right. Never mind. I'm not even going to try to understand these stats. But this is. I am concerned. It's on the road. Montreal has drawn no matches. They've that is extremely Hernan, right?
classic,
right?
classic Hernan. Yeah.
He always said he didn't want to lose zeros or draw 0-0, and that's not happening. I think that I hope that the trainers are working overtime and rubbing magic crystals on Andy Nahar's hamstrings. That would be also rich poetry if a injured Andy Nahar is brought back earlier than expected to play against Hernan Losada and beat him after what was the final straw apparently in Hernan's firing. This is we talked about it before. If ever there was an April game that's a must win just from a mentality perspective, it's this one. And also, can
Yeah.
you imagine how bad the vibes would be around DC if they did not pull a rabbit out of their hat against Toronto and win that first game, and they were just winless?
Yeah. Oof. It
Gross,
would be bad.
bad.
It would be bad. Let's go beat up on Canada, I think is what we need to do right now. But no, if you talk about you talk about this game, obviously against New England, they were absolutely run off the table. I think I've even seen like an XG given up, an XG stat, and they are like we're like at least like somewhat, where we if we just improve a little bit, maybe we jump up into sort of the mid tier. Toronto. Montreal is all the way like on the left side, the bad side of that graph. They are not good. They're maybe generating like a few more chances, like they're being a little bit more potent offensively than us, but way worse. Even with the games we've lost, way worse defensively. And of course they've lost like 9-0. Like in their XG, the XG against New England. Let's see, let me find it here. Was 2.2 to 0.6 on the XG graph. So they are vastly not playing well, and this is an opportunity. I think if DC goes in and runs the table here, I think Hernan, I'm willing to bet
He might get fired.
that or not he might get fired at this last game. So this might be a sort of last stand for him. They do have one sort of what I guess we'll call it quality win against Montreal, 3-2. Again, Montreal did have a
Montreal
player sent
against who?
off. They are
Ooh,
Philadelphia.
thank you.
They have a 3-2 win against Philadelphia. Philadelphia had a player sent off, and obviously they have CCL that they have been really focused on. So I'm not sure how much you can really put into that game. But yeah, should be an interesting game. I think you're right. I think it's a must win. And hopefully the team could finally pull out it. We have some positivity to talk about coming into this year instead of the
I miss it.
same we've had for like the past like 2 to 3 weeks. So
I miss it. We've got some questions. Jason says, at which point do they walk away? At what point do they walk away from Rooney midseason? Is it possible? We kind of discussed that before. He also took it back after about 15 minutes of stewing on it, but I wanted to ask it just sort of pointedly. I think that they're going to continue to make additions to this roster. They're going to give him all. There's no way he doesn't see out the season.
Yeah, I think that is very likely. I think it has to. If this continues, though, if this does continue, I think they recognize that they need to get him some help, and I think they will get him that help sort of before the end of the. I don't know if it'll be 3 players like we'll talk about coming up. Rooney says they're looking. We'll just go ahead and say it. I don't think
there's
we
not
got
much more.
much analysis. Looking at 3 players: French, Uruguayan, and Portuguese. I don't know if they'll grab all of them. Producer Brian, by the way, like dropped a transfer market player, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, are we signing this guy?" And it's like, "No. I just thought he would look good." And I'm like, "Come on, man, you can't do that with no explanation." I know you're having a kid and you're tired, but come on.
Sean Howe was at League 2 matches, and apparently scouting center backs. That was so. I was like, Lee,
where'd you hear that?
Just here and there. Sean, just following him on Instagram is also very helpful. Sean has certainly decided that he's like, this is fun. I'm enjoying these little breadcrumbs for the 50 people that care about it. But yeah, I don't think there's any chance they fire him. Jeff Wim says, or Jeff WIM says, we've seen a lot of starting lineup combinations. Who do you think should be the starting wingers, wide players in the midfield? And I guess that's assuming a universe in which everyone is healthy, which has never happened before. The problem too, like with roster construction, this team doesn't have a bunch of wingers. If outside midfielders, they're not built to play wide. That's just not sort of the team that they have constructed.
They're narrow. They're very narrow. Right now, obviously defensively, sorry, he was talking specifically midfield, right?
Yep.
I honestly I don't know what the best combination is. I really don't. I guess you need to have Lewis O'Brien out there. You need to have Matthias Klick out there. They're your 2 big signings, so they have to be out there. And then it's a question of, do you get some more width with Pedro Santos where he can push up a little bit? I think he was asked to play a little more defensively than in this last game that I think he was used to. So I'd be curious if they get some more help for him. And then do you look for like a Victor Paulson? Russell Canals look good. I don't know. I really don't know what the best midfield is at this point. They've tried a lot of different things, and nothing has really stuck as 100%
Yeah,
effective.
Pedro Santos has not been the answer. Ruan is not really the answer on the right hand side. Nigel Roberta has been tried on the left hand side. He's not the answer. I think O'Brien could play one of those positions. I think he's just a
Mhm.
diverse talent. Andy Nahar could also do that if we wanted to do. Ted Cucci could. I think he's better in the middle of the field. And Jackson Hopkins theoretically was supposed to be that on the right hand side, but has not been able to break into the lineup in any noticeable way. Um, yeah, there's if you just look at this roster, it looks exactly what it was, right? It looks like a roster that's
Mhm.
been put together over 3 coaches with different GMs with different systems, and it's like a Frankenstein. It's not quite as bad as Chelsea's 40 players on their senior roster or whatever it is, but it is certainly a team that is schizophrenic in its what players are brought in to do. So when Wayne leaves, be it this year likely or next year after that, uh, they definitely have to figure out as they shift dead weight. They have to be much more cohesive in the plan going forward and have, excuse me, whoever the general manager is going to be. And I think we know the general manager is the general manager as the general manager. He is the alpha and omega. So when he builds the team, when Dave Casper has still been on this team in 2025, I hope that it's with a grand plan in mind versus sort of just like, hey, every 6 months, let's get a new formation, let's have new attributes that we're seeking, and then fire the coach.
Yeah, I really don't know. I'm honestly not putting. You put more thought into next season than I have at this point because I'm just like I don't know what it's going to
If
look
we don't
like.
win more games, I'm gonna have to. Like I don't have a choice. My brain has to escape.
But we do. Before we close out the show, let's do talk about what we do know is coming up on April 26th, barring there's no storms or rain or anything like that that would push a game till 1 a.m. But we have the U.S. Open Cup match. DC United will be playing. They've been drawn against the Richmond Kickers. Last time they drew against the Richmond Kickers, they went on to win the Open Cup. So a little bit of spice there. Quick thoughts, Sean. Do you think Wayne Rooney or DC United will take this tournament seriously? I'm not talking about this game. I'm not talking about this game.
Oh
I think you will see some players in there, but your answer, I'm not talking about this game. I'm talking about
no,
the
it's
cup.
it's Youth City. It's gonna be Youth City. Alex Bono gets his first start. It's Jackson Hopkins gets a start. Christian Fletcher gets a start. Donovan Pines, Matai Akambone starts. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be six
Yeah,
six young players and then some sprinkled veterans. Benteke off the bench. That's what I think happens.
I would be shocked if Benteke is there. I think there'll be some starters maybe mixed in. Maybe they give Lewis O'Brien a run out.
Yeah. Oh, for
But I
sure.
would.
Oh my God, Lewis O'Brien's playing. He's playing everything. He's playing 90 minutes of everything.
I mean, as far as just my quick thoughts on the match, obviously this for me is going to be complicated as far as who to support, because I am a longtime DC fan since a kid, and I've recently been really involved with the Kickers and a season ticket holder. I'm not dropping any hints on who I would actually be rooting for. It might be a case of I hope both teams have fun and we have a good time. I know there are several Richmond people who used to be big DC fans who are all back in Richmond. So that might sway me. I'm sorry, but I think it's gonna be an interesting game. I will be there on Wednesday. I will be. You will see me. I may pick a jersey. You'll see me in whatever you want.
Ted's
I'm
gonna
not sure.
slice two jerseys together and stitch them.
No, man, dude, I can't slice together two $200
No,
jerseys
you guys
or
gotta be
like
old
one
ones.
three.
It's gotta be
It's
definitely
like
old ones.
$300, man. I can't. I don't even think I have any old ones. I could like maybe I've got like an old DC. I don't really have too many old kickers I don't wear anymore because I just haven't been around too long with them. Um, I will say from analysis perspective, I think DC can throw out a youth lineup. This Kickers team, even though they were the best team in the league last year by far, a lot of those guys have left. Particularly Jonathan Bolaños has left. They've got Belmar, who's been a couple things in there. Anyway, I'll save a little bit of analysis. I think DC, even with a reserve lineup, should be able to beat the Kickers. Could the Kickers surprise them? Absolutely. We'll see kind of what how the teams line up. I'll be very curious to see how the Kickers kind of line up, because deep Open Cup runs have been possible. Union Omaha did it, but it also had a pretty big impact on their regular season. So I don't know. We'll see that. I remember there was a game against Philly, and I think it was the Kickers throughout like one of the worst lineups I'd ever seen for like a game, and I was like, oh, we're gonna get pummeled, and they proceeded to get pummeled 5-0. So we'll see. It'll be a fun game. I'll have some content coming out. I'm good friends with the guys over at River City 93, so you'll hear more about that coming up. I'm still working out some details. He's on vacation right now, so I don't want to bother him too much. All right, folks. That's going to do it, I think. Anything else you wanted to drop, John, before we go?
Nope. I think how do you say his name? Terzaghi?
Emiliano Terzaghi.
Yeah,
yes.
He'll score. That's going to happen.
He'll score. That'll be fun. Yeah.
I think TBD if it'll be streamed. TBD if you have to be there to see it. TBD all these things. So I think that information will hopefully come soon. If you're, I'm not going, but other people should go. Everybody else except for me should go. Wait, what day is it again?
April 26th. It's a Wednesday.
And John's gonna check his calendar live on this.
See if he can actually go and join me. I immediately put in PTO. I immediately blocked out my calendar. I was like, I'm going to this game. I do not care. It's the middle of the week before I've got something.
It's not looking good. It's not looking good, Ted. It's not looking good.
Come on, let's get Brian up. Brian will give an excuse for.
Brian has a covered excuse for sure.
There will be a bunch of Richmond people. Out at the game. They're always a fun time. Should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. You guys are awesome, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Vamos. Thanks again to our show sponsor, Mundy Development, available to help you with all of your real estate needs. To get started on your next real estate investment, visit mundydev.com. That's MUNDYDEV.com.